Ahem. Hello, everyone. This is the Gamer Nerd, and welcome to a very special video. Today, we are going to be reacting to Spooky House of Jump Scares Mansion Specimens Ranked by Wambu. And joining me today is my dad.
Hello.
Yeah, this is a very different video, so we're going to be reacting together. Anyway, let's get it started. Okay, we got our epilepsy warning. So if anybody out there is epileptic, you might want to turn off this video. No jump scares, that's a good
Howdy
thing.
doody, everyone. It's me, a psychological manifestation of Countdown creator Wambu, projected from your own internal demons.
Okay.
Hello! It's time once again for some terrifying tomfoolery. But this time, I don't really care when it comes out, because in the year 2020, life is horror.
Oh,
This year I gave myself a bit of a challenge, and I don't just mean getting treatment for my mental health and releasing a video as a step forward to no longer tormenting myself for my
hold on. Let me get this to a better quality. There we
misgivings as a
go.
content creator. Ah, shit, that got personal real fast. I swear I'll be funny for the rest of the video. Ugh, yuck. The challenge I'm actually referring to was beating a game that I had long avoided since around 2014, mostly for the presence of that word in the title. Nuh-uh, I don't do well with those. This year, though, I buckled down and jumped headfirst into the fire. And by that, I mean a friend bought it for me and I wanted to prove to them that I wasn't chicken. It turns out I loved it and I wanted to make a video on it. Spooky's Jump Scare Mansion is a cute, variously stylized horror game about making your way through 1,000 rooms of a derelict mansion, while escaping all the horror genre tropes that have been lovingly referenced in the game's major enemies. In the main storyline, there are 13 of what the game calls specimens, and I'm gonna rank them all from least favorite to favorite. But before that, I gotta talk about rules. I know, I hate this part too. First of all,
Yeah, who
yes, I'm
doesn't?
talking about the main game specimens specifically. I know the Endless mode has the unknown specimens, and the Karamari Hospital DLC has monsters, and the Dollhouse DLC came out recently, which means this game is relevant again. But come on, I want a reasonable workload here. Those other specimens can maybe get their own video eventually, but for now, fuck them. Second, I should clarify that while all these guys in-game are designated by their specimen numbers, they pretty much all have actual names, some of which are official and some of which are more colloquial among fans. I'll be including those along with the specimen numbers for the sake of distincting them better. Final disclaimer, I spent the bulk of my decision-making here repeatedly asking myself stupid scattershot questions that eventually made up my criteria. Are they scary? Do I like their design? Do they have a cool concept or backstory? Do I appreciate the reference? How dangerous are they in gameplay? What happens when they kill you? Do they have a nice place for chill hangs where I can sit down and eat one Twizzler? Keeping these things in mind should
That
help
is the
get a
most
better understanding
important
of my train
question.
of thought.
It
While I
is.
work my way up to the best, starting with the least best. Spoilers, I'm going to be pretty positive on all of them, but now I'm getting ahead of
It
myself.
should be noted that
Wait,
neither one
no,
of
I'm
us have
not.
fully
I've got
played
nothing
through
else to say. Start
Spookies,
the
so
fucking
this is
video,
going to be
damn
a
you.
nice
A pox.
surprise.
A pox on all your brain cells.
I don't know what that means, but okay.
Well, I promised positivity with all of them, and I intend to keep my word, because if we're looking at the main storyline, 13 out of 13 specimens are good. Not one that I would reasonably describe as a total dud. And while I could further sweeten my language as much as I want, one of these clods has to be subject to the bitter bottom of the list. And after much deliberation, I unfortunately decided that I would not partake in the green Jolly Rancher.
Okay, so number 13 is Goop.
Look, I'd probably talk about this guy way later if I was including the other specimens. Trust me, in a game with a floating baby head in a box and goddamn Otto the Otter, Goop is far from the shittiest creature in the game. It just had to be this way. As the first enemy in the game, what it brings to the table is kind of minimal, but as the first enemy in the game, it's still pretty good. After getting through the first 60 floors mostly uncontested, you reach a room that seems like any other, but someone left a big old puddle of high-C ecto-cooler, and I guess they didn't have a mop, or paper towels, or a dog. They did leave a note, though. Spouting, splashing, soaking, innards, ingesting, in choking. My language is fucking broken. Turn around and fuck me, it's a love glub. I'm not even kidding. That's literally the reference. And it approaches slowly with a pose that says, "Sir, is this your wallet? Did you drop your wallet? Sir, please, sir, take your fucking wallet, god damn it." I tease, but honestly, I think the Goopy Man works pretty well. The design is pretty scary, the choking sounds it makes are really menacing, and this is a solid game over screen, especially for a first monster. Plus, I can't help but feel weirdly sympathetic for the guy. The note seems to be written by the monster itself, and implies that it's in a constant state of choking. I'm never going to let myself go for that one. It's immediately interesting characterization for a creature that, unfortunately, just didn't end up being that big an obstacle. That's why it finds itself at the bottom here. For as cool as that first impression was, the others on the list just gave me even more to digest while being notably more dangerous. Hell, Goop gets even easier once you get the axe. How the tables turn, you 100% artificial green apple flavoring son of a bitch. But seriously, get well soon.
So, that was the Goop. Who's number 12?
So speaking as another ghost, I have been known to spook every now and then. So I have a couple words of advice for our girl Spooky here, because Lord knows I have so much experience building a 1,000 room mansion with a bunch of creatures designed to kill. To cut to the chase, it's kind of slow at the beginning. While it's not bad or anything, I think the game really gets more interesting, more experimental, and more scary around specimens 4 or 5. Needless to say, the first leg of the game could definitely use some work. Anyway, here's specimen 13.
Well, that was a transition and a half.
Just when I thought we were knocking it out of the park left and right, the final specimen we meet really split the difference between, hey, this is kind of alright, and wow, I saw this shit coming from a billion gigaparsecs away. To its credit, I was struck right away when I first read the notes in the area, because it made the specimen sound genuinely imposing. Apparently, it's been killing whales by eating them from the inside. Fuck. Look, I wasn't super fond of Jabu Jabu's belly either, but that's just fucking excessive, bruh. Its locale was also super creepy. It's so dark to the point of feeling kinda claustrophobic. It seems like they've made a really neat environment here. I would love to see it someday. Instead, I wandered around in the dark for several minutes until I finally found the reference. In retrospect, Amnesia was super influential on horror in the 2010s, especially in the YouTube Let's Play circle, so its homage in this game feels perfectly in place. I was excited to see
sorry
what
for
they
meowing
do,
in the background. My cat likes to be talkative.
That's a scary game. Then I reached the second part of this area. Yeah, I don't even need to see the specimen. I just know what's going to happen already. Does the name Cairn ring any bells? Does the name Water Monster ring any bells? Okay, yeah, there it is. The siren only chases you when you're in the water, and to avoid it, you have to go on one of the boxes. Again, you already know the drill. This is probably the one instance of the game where the reference it was going for felt just a little too on the nose. Kind of watered down, even. Oh my god, I really wrote watered down. I hate myself. Unlike in Amnesia, where it can be kind of tough to know where to go next, the Siren's Chase has such a convenient trail of boxes that it becomes way too easy to get your bearings and avoid this thing altogether. And the Siren herself, well, I don't want to be too harsh, because she does have a pretty cool design. But at the risk of sounding kinda condescending, I feel just a little bit over this trope. Like, you thought you were gonna smooch a pretty mermaid, but gotcha, her teeth are actually piano keys. I know, that's what sirens do, and admittedly it's not a bad concept for a creature inspired by the water monster, just didn't do much for me. Probably would have scared me much more if I was a whale.
Oh no. Number 11?
I'm really glad I played this game in 2020, because I could have played this back in the 2014 era, when the game was called Spooky's House of Jump Scares. And while maybe I would have been more surprised by FNAF references, like Auto Motherfucking Otter, it would have also meant that all the specimens would be 2D images instead of the 3D models we have now. Some people find the 2D images scarier. I'm not even gonna pretend I understand why. They make me feel like I'm being chased by concept art. Oh, you might think you're safe now, but just wait. Soon the rest of my body will align with the Z-axis, and then you'll be fucked. I bring this up now not because I'm trying to stoke any fires,
I'm sorry.
But because whatever end of the argument you're on, this specimen's upgrade to 3D was everything it needed.
Oh no.
So don't let the numbering mess you guys up. This is Specimen 3, but it's referred to as Subject 5 in the notes around the area. Got it? Specimen 3, Subject 5, one and the same. Not that I think any of you are dumb, but I fucked it up several times on my first playthrough and I'm embarrassed, and please tell me I'm not the only one. Oh god. Whatever they were going for with the older versions of Specimen 3, it didn't
I'm
really work
actually
at all.
glad
I
that
don't
Dad's
know
reacting
who
with
was
me on
scared
this
by
one,
this
and
slow,
it's all because
small
of this
facsimile
guy.
of a spider, but I'm really glad it's evolved
Because
into a
while
big
my
ol'
mom
centipede
loves
boy now.
horror,
In spite of
she just
technically being the
hates
second
bugs.
monster you encounter in the game, I think it's a very notable step up from Goop. While there are
Oh,
quite a lot of
and
specimens
he
that
knocks down
simply
doors.
chase
Oh,
you,
great.
Specimen 3 is the first one that has a fairly reasonable chance of killing you, since it's actually pretty fast now, and can ambush you from little holes it makes in the ceiling. It's also the first specimen to introduce new special specimen locales. Get a load of these sexy test tubes. Ah, fuck, one of them broke. Someone should get Spooky over here to do nothing about it. We know why there's no more people around. While I can very much appreciate what Specimen 3 brings contextually, I have to admit that this is one of the weaker locales on account of being super generic. And I mean that literally. The employees are called generic lab assistants. They're trying to be self-aware and funny about it, but there's truth in jest, that's all I'm saying. That's not to dunk on Specimen 3 itself, because if I'm being real, I fucking adore this thing. The design, the way it slinks out of the holes, the way it just goes, fuck this shit, I'm out, when you hit it with the axe, and this game over sequence is so much more awesome than it has any right to be. You're telling me there were 3 of these guys? Oh, wait, I guess that kind of makes sense. In all honesty, I developed a pretty big affection for Specimen 3 during the course of the game, which is effective in probably the exact opposite way of how it was intended. I would get happy when it showed up on the rechase cycle. It became my bro. I unironically think it's adorable, and that's not what a scary game is supposed to do. I like to rank horror lists on a balance between fear and love, how much I'm invested into the concept behind something scary, and how well it executes that concept. Specimen 3 goes way too far into the love section. So fine, maybe I'm not scared by it, but this thing still has my heart, and that's gotta count for something. If I ever do top 10 video game insects, I'll know who to call.
That's a good point.
Well, in an unfortunate turn of events, apparently there's an opposite end to that spectrum I described earlier. What? You're telling me you could be afraid of something without also loving it? Well, that sounds like Wambu might be having a normal person's experience with fear. Well, first of all, how dare you insinuate such slander? Second of all, you right.
Oh, hey, it's the ring.
At the very least, I can say that we've passed the threshold of specimens that, in one way, or the best way, generally underwhelmed. Specimen 4, aka Ringu, is such a step up in both scariness and atmosphere that it's kinda shocking. The first time you get to her area, it's like, I'm sorry, did I open the door to a different fucking game? Suddenly, you're in a totally empty Japanese school. It's dark as fuck again, but this time you have a flashlight, which means 2 things. 1, sayonara peripheral vision, I'm sorry I took you for granted. 2, I can't read the fucking notes. But for real, there's something unsettling about being in an empty school at night. Maybe it's just my personal Outlast 2 flashbacks, or maybe it's the constant feeling of, shit, I'm really not supposed to be here. It's simple but effective, and it even has some surprises that I genuinely missed the first time I played it. So the second time when I was really trying to take in the environment more,
I actually find being in an empty school kind of comforting.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Is that a fucking Madoka Magica reference? Okay, I'm sorry. After a while, you finally encounter Ringu herself, and once again, she's just immediately scarier than any of the other specimens you've encountered so far. The black fog, the way she phases through walls, and that chilling earworm of a chase theme. There's also this cool bit of animation with her where she opens her jaw more the closer she gets to you, which is also fitting given that her method of killing is fucking voice consumption. She eats you. And that actually brings me to why Ringu didn't place all that high. I think she's quite effective in execution, but she kind of bores me in concept. She's a reference to the ring. That's like all there is to know about her. Which is why even when she got evolved forms in the game's endless mode, my fear of her is still kinda waned. Also, this game over sequence is one of the weaker ones in my opinion. It's kinda fucked up, but also sorta plain, and it doesn't even have the cool cryptic text that most of the other ones have. When you die to Specimen 3, it says, "Once in a land of dreams, I thought I could be free, but now the hunger never sleeps." Specimen 4 is basically the opposite. I'm full and now I got a food baby. Once I got over the initial shock of what Ringu had to offer, the intrigue didn't quite last. Which isn't entirely a knock against the game, really. Sometimes you just need a good, straightforward scare, and that's just what Ringu happened to be for me. So no hate, my ass got 8. For a while it was great, hopefully you can relate, and now we move on to number 9. Come on, man, I had a good thing going there. It was a good flow, and now it's fucked up. 9? Fucking 9? Motherfucking 9. God damn it. Honestly, who even made that number? I can't believe this shit. Oh, and speaking of food babies, oh hey guys, check it out. This place has its own Mickey
100%
I'd like
beef.
to order. Stop! Don't do that. Do you think I'm gonna order A, a sofa, B, an expensive haircut, or C, a demon, an actual fucking demon? I'd like one sofa, please. Never mind. Service here fucking sucks.
Sofa. Yeah, that's what he ordered, but not what he got.
If any of you make a joke about the numbering here, I'm gonna fucking delete
Why on
your
earth would he
comment.
say
Of all the
that?
specimens in the game, Food Demon was easily the hardest one to nail
I
down
mean,
in definitive
Food Demon's
ranking.
number 9,
When
and
I
his name is
first entered
Specimen
its place,
11.
I was partially of the mind that I was going to encounter a joke
Never
specimen.
mind.
It's a
I
kind
get
of
it
corny,
now.
colorful, fast food
Go.
place with taste the beef posters all around it, and bathrooms that aren't too messy.
Trying to
Or
explode my
toilet
eardrums
water
or
in this
something
place is
there?
ketchup, and it even has a fun tunnel. A fun tunnel. Don't you guys want to explore the fun tunnel?
Oh, heck no.
This isn't
No,
very fun,
put
you
that
guys.
away.
Yeah, to my surprise, they actually play it straight, and it sorta works, provided you read the notes spread throughout the place. Specimen 11's part has one of the most interesting one-off side stories in the entire game. It's from the perspective of a former fast food employee who's hired here right as the place suspiciously starts to boom in business. While he's there, the same customers show up over and over again to order excessive amounts of food, he starts hallucinating after eating a burger, and the managers are absolutely careless and horrible to their own employees. So I guess one thing here is normal. The notes are cool though, because while they're effective as a little self-contained story, they subtly come to a head with the food demon itself, partly thanks to the hallucinations it causes, most predominantly testing environmental awareness by hiding the doors. But also its game over sequence sees the player teleport to a hallway made of red meat, and then confront the food demon himself before being barraged with oddly religious undertones. That binary code literally translates to believe in God, but question the teachings of man. Fellas, is it satanic to fucking eat? Yeah, ultimately, the food demon worked for me a lot more than I thought it would at first. The only thing I find to be kind of weak is the design of the food demon itself. It doesn't look bad, mind you. In fact, it actually looks kind of cool. But it's also a little too plain for me to be all that scared of. If there's one thing I would never take away from it, though, it's easily the best food-themed specimen in the game, which admittedly isn't saying much when your only other competition is goddamn Otto Eats of the Pizza Otter. Fucking bitch ass.
Okay, we get it. You hate Otto the Otter. Can we move on? Okay, now you can have your number 8.
Because I'm going to do a bit of a thing here. Remember 2017? There was this
Okay,
quaint little viral indie horror game that was still in its early stages, and one particular moment from it I distinctly remember to this day. Well, if this isn't the single stupidest way a game has ever tried to spook me. I thought back then. 3 years later, I get it now.
Behold, the jump scare part of the jump scare mansion.
You know what? Maybe this specimen was the hardest one to place, because just about any metric I might judge the other specimens on won't apply to cardboard cutouts at all. Seriously, what am I going to talk about? It's locale? It doesn't have one. It just pops up at random anywhere that isn't a special specimen location. It's game over sequence? Alright, go on. If you're going to do it, then do it! Kill me, damn you! It's cardboard. It can't. Its design? It's cute. It's super cute. Look at the adorable. Only on rare occasions does it decide to throw anything scary at your face. A lot of times it's kind of just used for utility purposes, like holding notes. And I love it. It's another specimen where it dips really far into the love column and not at all into the scary one. But this time it's definitely deliberate. See, specimen 1 basically is the jump scare part of Spooky's jump scare mansion. But jump scares are kind of cheap and stupid, and the game very much knows it. Pretty much any other specimen in the game is scarier, if you don't count Otto the Otter. And yet, typically when people play this game, the creature that gets them to jump the most often is Specimen 1. Not because it's scarier, but because if things get really quiet, and then all of a sudden there's a thing with a noise, you're probably gonna react. It's as cheap
Are we not going to talk about that?
Like cardboard. And you know what? It's a pretty good bit. I
cheap
love seeing
like
people start off being
cardboard.
mildly
Oh, I
amused
get it
and then
now.
steadily grow to get genuinely annoyed at how disruptive it can be during another specimen chase, only to eventually simmer down into a sort of begrudging endearment for the thing. I mean, it's basically using a comedic jump scare to draw attention to the underlying manipulations that make people react to jump scares. Oh, you got me again, you little bastard. Good games, good games.
Okay, it's dead now.
Friends, foes, the halfway point approaches us with great imminence. Thusly, the next sentence is interrupted by knocking sounds. Oh wait, I wasn't supposed to read that line. There's some doors in this house. I'll get it.
You shouldn't have done that, Wambu.
I think I'm gonna let this one cook a little longer.
You shouldn't have done that, Wambu.
Never mind, I think I burnt it.
Yeah, you burnt it. Yeah.
I guess you are my little pop champ. Come here.
Get away.
That bitch stays closed now. I'm not entirely sure how much
Yes,
I really need to
I don't wanna
discuss the
touch
merits
that.
of
What is
Specimen
that?
6,
A
aka
puppet.
Ben the Merchant. If anything, I should be frantically explaining why he's not even in the top 5. I never thought I'd call a number 7 spot the big one, but this is the big one. Somehow, in some way, Ben the Merchant is the
spooky.
most notorious
Yeah.
specimen in the game. It's to the point where even people who haven't touched Spooky's Jump Scare Mansion have vague knowledge of Ben. Is it because he's based on, those horror stories that get posted on the internet? A scary spaghetti. I mean, it has to be, right? Because he's pretty unassuming.
No, not the
looking
creepypasta.
otherwise. He's just some guy with a happy mask salesman face. Stop right there. You hear that? That's ignorance talking. And turning a blind eye to this guy? Well, that's exactly how he gets you. I get it now. Believe me, I get it. Specimen 6 is the first one to really throw a wrench into the works. You can't just run from him like you can with Specimens 2 through 5. No. Because this guy isn't just a man. He's a peanut. But like the scary peanut from SCP. Keep your eyes on this bitch or he'll poke him out. And that's not even a joke. It's like one of the most gruesome game over sequences in the game. And because he's such a departure from all the other specimens that came before him, he's usually
with someone
the
who
first
has
one
a
that
terrible
people die
eye,
to. And if your first experience
not
with
just
dying
eyesight,
in
a
the game
terrible
is,
eye in general. Oh, that just makes me
I can
uncomfortable.
maybe see why this guy would leave an impression. Another thing I think he deserves credit for is his backstory.
Personally, I
because,
think that
he
anything to
actually
deal with
has one of those
eyes
things.
and
Apparently, he sold
the
puppets and other
inherent
trinkets to young kids, which I
harm
guess
of them
flexes
is
super hard
just
on all the other business owners in town.
terrifying.
So they threw all his puppets in a river, causing Ben to jump in and never resurface. Ben now takes the form of a puppet himself and kidnaps children, potentially turning them into puppets too. So in case it wasn't obvious, Ben marks the point in the list where the specimens get really good. And the only reason he's not standing with the other top picks is because I think they maybe played the whole hand a little too quickly. Once I understood that he was doing the SCP thing,
that's not
I didn't
supposed to
find
happen.
him all that difficult to handle. Apart from that, admittedly
I guess he's
chill
dead
and
now.
chase theme. But let's be real. How was he ever gonna fool me? A guy who gets distracted by absolutely everything. Yo, dog, heard you drowned. Never lucky, bro. Sucks to suck. Oh my god. Is that a completely unremarkable door? Yeah, this feels like karma.
I totally get that.
Right?
In case anyone was thinking of playing the game themselves, this is the part where I'd very much recommend stopping the video and just experiencing the game itself on your own, because we're getting into full spoiler territory now, and if you have played the game before, you probably know what's coming next. So the only thing I gotta say now is...
He's a...
nice.
Why would you... Specimen 9 and he's number 6.
Yeah, that's right. I'll joke about the number this
69.
time. Sex number is funny. Fun fact, when I was playing through the game, I had a feeling that one
Why
of the
is that
specimens
the
was
funny
going to be
number?
the final
Yeah.
boss. I had 3 suspects.
Question,
My prime of
don't
which
answer
was
that.
Specimen 1. Yeah, I thought it was going to be some subversion
Seriously?
of expectation, true form shit. It made a lot of sense.
Specimen
in my head, okay?
1?
I was side-eyeing all these
That's
cartoon
what you thought
skeletons
the
and
final boss
pumpkins
was
like,
gonna
yeah,
be?
bitch, I'm on to you. And then my second suspect turned out to be the actual final boss. I was kind of conflicted on the Taker for a while. Unlike the other specimens in the game, barring Specimen
I like
1,
that.
he doesn't really have a set
Oh, I like
encounter.
the
Instead,
little
triggering
guy.
him is a lot more circumstantial.
It's like the
He
Taker
just kinda
said, "Somebody
shows
say
up
my
if you're
name."
in a room for too long. There is at least one room layout where it seems like an encounter with him was intended, where where you enter a long hallway that goes on forever until the taker shows up, does his taking thing, and fucking spams chat like a motherfucker. I've seen people go
Take
through
the
the whole
dead.
game and never get his room, though. So it's very possible to have never even seen the taker by the time he
A little
reveals
weird.
himself as the final boss.
Oh
and
my.
speaking of the boss fight, I don't
That's
know,
actually
it's
kind
pretty
of a
good.
sick
It's not
design.
difficult, mind you. His attacks are easy to avoid, and his gameplay loop is super predictable. But for the last and only boss fight in the game, it's stylistically really cool. His attacks all look awesome, and the visual effects he puts on the screen really make everything feel more frantic. I actually don't have a lot to say about the fight. I basically just brought it up to emphasize that the fight is not the reason the Taker ranked so high. It's not about his design or his fight,
Then what is
his
it?
role in the game, or lol funny sex number. Rather, it's because of the little details I noticed on repeat playthroughs. More
What is it?
specifically, why is that his room number? That wasn't a particularly remarkable room in the main game, so what's the relevance of 731? Oh my god. They're not seriously talking about that, are they? They are. They 100% are. What the fuck? What has this game been about? This moment recontextualized everything, because it turns out this cute little love letter of the horror genre has low-key been about the fallout of the most horrible human experiment in history, which looking back on things kind of makes sense. Specimens 2, 4, 6, 10, and 13 are all implied to have been human at some point. Are all of them related to World War II as well? Honestly, I don't know. My mind just exploded over absolutely
kind of creepy.
One thing at least is absolutely unambiguously true. The Taker is a flayed human from Unit 731 that has been trying to piece its body back together as it stalks you in secrecy throughout the entire game. That realization hit me real deep. Hit me like my finger over the enter key as I spam take the dead to my friends moments before they block me. Such a high concept creature was hidden right under my nose in the form of a specimen that I originally ranked right under Ringu. And while it's maybe a problem that I didn't realize I loved this concept so much till after my second playthrough, the important thing here is that I'm now smart enough to draw wild speculations about a fringe horror game from 2014, a skill that I'm sure will serve me never again. But hey, it was fun for just this once.
Okay then, that was actually kind of serious.
For as many specimens as we've already covered, I feel like we haven't quite ticked all the horror gameplay boxes. When you see something scary in a game, what do? Well, you run, and there's a shit ton of running in this game, but I feel like there's normally a second part to that.
What do you do after
run
that?
and die horribly?
Die horribly.
I am dead.
No, that's the bad way to do it.
Okay,
you
what
run
else?
And what? I think it starts with an H? You
Yeah.
run and hit it with your axe. No, that's not it. But I'm getting closer. I can feel it.
I need to
sorry,
hide?
I need to what? Hide? Well, this game was made by a weeb with a Japanese pseudonym. It's probably one of those things that just got lost in translation.
Paranormal structure.
Can I just say, it feels so weird to get this far into a horror game and only just get your first hiding prompt. My brain genuinely had to take a moment to be like, wait, this is different actually. What's the occasion? Well, take a listen. Yeah, it's the Scissor Man. We getting Clock Tower up in this thing. Similar to those games, Specimen 12's segment has you regularly hiding from a guy with an oversized blade, as you find more ways to unlock the mansion. And not like Spooky's mansion, but well, imagine a Boston cream donut, and the outer dough is a mansion, and the creamy filling is a totally different mansion. It's basically that. I'm actually going to start off with the negatives because it should be pretty quick and easy to cover. This old man with the sickle, I don't like him. I don't like his design, and I'm not scared of him. There's a lot of reasons why I feel like I should be, but a lot of the time I just can't take him seriously.
I'm so lonely. Where are
I don't know.
Smell you.
What?
I'm so lonely.
Now begs the question, if I don't actually like Specimen 12, then why did I rank this guy in the top 5? I didn't.
Smelly old man.
No, I didn't do that either. What I mean is, that old guy isn't Specimen 12. That
Oh?
old guy is actually a possessed host for the real Specimen 12, the mansion itself. Yeah, that
What?
creamy filling in our Boston cream mansion donut is the actual Specimen 12. What we get is the most strongly characterized place in the whole game. It doesn't look that different from the normal mansion. In fact, it kind of looks a bit shittier. But even that's by design. Specimen 12 is a big ol' fake ass, a prissy prick who's trying to impress the real mansion by pretending to also be a mansion. The brick walls and wood are confirmed to be painted over. In fact, everything in the mansion looks ever so slightly artificial.
Now
I bet
that he
those aren't
mentions
even
it.
real Pepsi bottles. Thankfully, there is
Now
one
that he
room where there's
mentions
not a
it, it
doubt
does
in my
look a little
mind that
weird.
Specimen 12 is being
Yeah.
its real self.
Yeah.
The cellar. Well, if this
And-
ain't just the worst fucking thing
oh.
ever. Excuse me, can one of you dead, decayed skeletons point me to the way out of this goddamn nightmare? That's the
Yeah,
other thing that really works
that's
about
where I
Specimen
would wanna
12,
go,
actually.
too,
I'm one of
out
those
of
people
there.
that tries to take in the full experience, you know, like a good little gamer. But if you want to, you can actually just brute force your way through almost everything. Not here, though. The very nature of exploring the mansion and hiding when the need arises means you have to engage somehow with the specimen directly. The paranormal structure, one of the most satisfying late-game specimens to surmount. In fact, it probably would have been a better Specimen 13 than the actual Specimen 13. I really can't complain, though. I guess Specimen 12 isn't killing any whales. Instead, it just ruined donuts for me. You won't take me as a host, motherfucker! My mind is too powerful now!
Just like me. Empty inside.
If I'm being honest,
Number 4.
I was a little nervous going into this list. The holiday of horror for me normally opens the door for broader scary subjects. This time, I laser focused on this one little indie game that's only recently come back into relevance, but I have a couple reasons for doing this. One, I like this game a lot, and I think it deserves an even bigger audience. Two, this game is pretty derivative, and in this context, that's honestly a great thing. Three, I just want to talk about different shit. I really like doing horror lists, but I'd be lying if I said there haven't been more than a few franchises I've kind of defaulted to. And for once, I personally think it'd be fun to not have to talk about Resident Evil, or Hollow Knight, or fucking Undertale somehow, because that keeps showing up, or Killer 7, or Half-Life 2, or Silent Hill 2. Oh, wait.
Bab. Wait, seriously? That's this thing's name?
That's right, even when I'm talking about a totally different game, Silent Hill 2 still gets on the list. I will never escape this game, and neither will any of you. Maybe I'm biased right now because
I guess
one
we'll
of these
never
things
escape
finally
then.
reference some of my favorite horror media ever. I would also argue, however, that these feelings can go either way. Have you ever had something you loved get reappropriated poorly? Because I certainly have.
I understand that.
What I'm saying here is there was
That's what it
never
looks like
going to
in
be
real
a
life.
round of Specimen 5
Yeah.
for me. It was either going to be all love or me screaming angrily for 2 minutes while I pounded into the dirt. I thankfully ended up in the camp where I didn't do that. While Specimen 4 was the first one to really properly scare me, Specimen 5, or Bad, as she's called in the game's files, was the moment where I realized this game was going to do awesome things. Plus, the name Bab is adorable. Bab. Everything about Bab and her
Bab.
section of the game is
Bab.
so stylistically unlike anything else the game has to offer. And that's because better than ever, the game was able to wear the best of its inspirations without sacrificing the identity, creating an eerie, organic, and industrial rundown mental ward with the sort of surreal, spacey, yet unmistakably video gamey visual flares that are super characteristic of Spookies. Same thing can be said of Bab herself. On a surface level, it seems like she's
I think he's gonna do
between
everything.
Silent Hill 2's
I think he's gonna do
mannequins
that
and
every
bubble-headed
time.
nurses while giving them Pyramid Head's weapons. But she's also got this heavily shaded texture that's kind of fleshy, but also sort of crunchy and polygonal. What really got me about her, though, is how she fucks with all the environmental textures
know.
as she chases
Thought
you,
you got a
focusing
knife.
a lot more on disorienting the player and less on going full aggro. Because of this, she's easily the most uncanny specimen to see coming towards you. Effective on subjects with mental issues and weak wills. Oh no, it's me! There's this air of mystery surrounding her
I
as well.
knew my
Her
mental
method of
issues would
killing is
catch up to
listed
me
as
one day.
unknown, and this game over screen, which I love by the way, doesn't make it super clear what's even happening to us. Plus there's the always underlying question of, well, you know the one. Hey, what are you doing? Ever heard of personal space, bitch? What's your fucking deal? That one. We know she was found in a church, and it seems like she had a cult following her. That would make sense, and it would admittedly be very Silent Hill of her. But then there's also these weird parental themes happening. Her cult followers seem to refer to her as Mother, and it's also implied through one of the notes that she got angry after said cult burned a little girl in a ritual sacrifice. The most striking example of this, however, is the most cursed room in the entire game.
How is it?
Yeah, I think we've all seen enough here. Unlike with Taker, I don't really know if there's clear enough indicators to extrapolate any larger meaning.
Sperm,
and honestly,
I guess.
not sure I want to anymore. So I can just take this specimen for what it
I
gives
think
me
it's
on the
best we
surface,
just
an
leave
awesome
that one.
thing that I can point to while glowering at all the other horror references and go, this is how it's done. Lovingly faithful while being scary in its own way, and such a good promise for everything that would come after it. Plus she's named Bab.
You made it this far. That's great.
Number 3.
Dear Lord. It's the Dear Lord. Thank you. You've been a terrific audience. I'll be here all week.
That's actually a very
there was
eerie
one
theme.
specimen in this game that was such a head-destroyingly wasted opportunity from a design standpoint. It was definitely Specimen 8. I don't get it, man. I just don't get it. Give the player an axe. Okay, that's a good start. Surround them with minor enemies that'll attack them. Okay, cool. I see where this is going.
No, don't use the axe too much or you'll get the bad ending.
What?
Also, the specimen chase is just Ringu again, but this guy is slower.
For what reason would you do something like this?
Well, Wambu
W.
seems to be angry about this guy, but he's also in your top 3.
I know, right? What is anything? I guess if you happen to have a lot of misgivings from a gameplay standpoint, just be
It should also
fucking
be noted
fantastic
that
in
this
every
video
other
is
regard,
slightly
forehead.
outdated
It's just that easy.
because
I could
Dear
complain as
Lord
much as I want, but I'd be
actually
remiss
got
to
a
not
new
mention how
power.
generally cool the
By
Dear
the time
Lord's
of
whole part
recording
the game
this,
is. Oh my god.
he
This
can
must be
create
that
a warp
outside
gate
I
now
keep hearing
to
so
make him
much
go
about.
faster.
Oh, and they even got wildlife in here? Fucking A. How do you think they keep them fed?
Bambi.
No, not Bambi.
They eat people. It's kind of a surreal
Oh, you
experience
don't
being in
say,
an outdoorsy
Wambu.
location and having to worry about something other than the specimen itself.
Kill
But
Bambi.
speaking of the specimen itself, taking inspiration from creatures of Native American folklore, in particular the Wendigo, the Deer Lord has probably the coolest and most imposing design of any specimen. This tall, ghostly forest deity with sharp teeth and beaming eyes. It even opens up its cloak as it draws closer to you to reveal its skeletal body and the screaming faces of those it's already assimilated. And even before you could fully process any of that, it straight up talks to you.
Your submission is inevitable. Why do you run, child?
Why do I run? Gee, I fucking wonder.
I'm going to feed you to my children, little one. Wait, where are you going? Did you not want to be made into deer food? I don't get it. You know, getting eaten by deer really isn't even that bad. It's honestly more fun than it sounds. No, wait, please stop running.
And if he does happen to kill you, which he probably won't, but if he does, then we're met with quite possibly the best game over sequence in the game. Like with the food demon, we're given a brief moment of gameplay before meeting face to face with the specimen itself, but the atmosphere here is way more intense. It's just a straight forest trail with a blood-red sky before succumbing to the Deer Lord's assimilation. No, it doesn't have the same shock value as Ben the Merchant stabbing your eyeball. But it's
Yes,
the kind
get
of
that
ambient
away.
horror that I personally
I do not want to
appreciate
see
so
that
much
again.
more. Dear Lord really does stand top of the class in so many regards. Best design, best game over sequence, great locale, great build-up, great chase theme. Really, the only thing that kept it from steamrolling to number 1 were the lame gameplay elements I mentioned earlier. Personally, if I were designing this, I would have the violent deer show up during the chase while removing the penalty for killing them. Even if you don't like that idea, I think it would have given Deer Lord something distinct for its rechase. I did say I I was a Silent Hill 2 fan, so for the most part, I can forgive not so amazing gameplay. It just means Dear Lord has to settle for being one of the best instead of being easily the best. Enjoy top 3, sucker, whose submission is inevitable now. Fair enough.
That was actually very clever.
Yes.
We've gone on a long journey together, but here we
Okay,
are
by my
finally
count, there's
at the
only 2
scariest
left.
number to grace any
Is it?
worst to best ranking. Number 2.
Oh
Maybe
no,
to those
not number
unaware
2.
of this game, a
Dun,
bit
dun,
of suspense will
dun.
still linger, but for those keeping track, any speculation will come to a head at this very moment. The second best specimen in the game is... Wait, who is it? I didn't even write a proper opening to this one. I gotta check again. Number 2 is Shitty Eel Bitch.
Wait, seriously? That's...
What is that?
What the fuck am I even looking at? This can't seriously be my number 2. This thing
It
is
looks like a
goddamn
weird
pathetic.
eel.
Maybe I would like it if it fucking died.
Yeah, probably would be a...
Oh,
Oh.
thank you for that. Just one thing, though. Fucking excuse me?
Parasite. Hey.
Yo, it's The Thing. No, I mean The Thing. It's literally called The Thing. Okay, thank you. The whole development story of Specimen
Fun
10 is
fact, my
pretty
mom
neat
actually
compared to all
loves
the
this
others.
movie.
That weird eel you saw a second ago
The
was
Thing.
the original Specimen 10. And I guess somewhere along the line it was decided that this creature would be totally reconceptualized. Rather than just a simple replacement, though, they decided to go whole hog and have the new Specimen 10 fucking kill the old one. It's such an out-of-nowhere entrance, yet it perfectly introduces one of the most weird, subversive, and ever-changing specimens in the game. 4 different forms this guy takes in the time you see him. The old and new Specimen 10 are 2. Another happens if you get too close, as it tries to bite you with its gaping chest mouth. The final form is the real kicker, however, and it happens when you go too far. That's right, it becomes tiny. Can I get like a tiny audio stinger? Thank you. For real though, the scary thing about the leech form is that it's just faster than you. You can't outrun it. Every other specimen apart from one goes...
Come out.
The parasite, on the other hand, says, let me stop you right there. Walk with me, please. Okay. I personally can't help but love the way it changes the relationship between player and enemy. Most of the other specimens, I could just be like, nope, not dealing with you. I like you. Not you, Mr. Subject 5. You can stick around. By comparison, it's really interesting to have this one monster that I just have to wait for. It's a very different feeling from a normal chase.
A monster you have to wait for.
And it's all
That
the more
actually is
surreal
pretty
with its
scary.
discordant mess of a chase theme playing in the back. And if that's not enough, Specimen 10 also visually fucks with the player a ton. It's pretty much the only specimen that consistently takes me by surprise when it shows up on the rechase cycle. I'll just be walking along and suddenly, oh god, I guess it's time for our morning stroll again. Is there anything I don't like about Specimen 10? Not really. I mean, I guess its game over screen could be better, but I actually love what they do with the binary this time. The actually readable text is all about sacrificing your will and feeding into nothing but animalistic instincts. The binary code, however, says the exact opposite. You are more than just an animal. Use the soul you've been given and be responsible for your actions. It's like the last gasp of your humanity trying to fight off the infection before inevitably succumbing. It's really cool. Okay, well, what about the locale? Well, I did find it kinda unremarkable at first, since a similar idea was done earlier in the game with Specimen 3. In fact, this is literally supposed to be the older version of that lab. Then I read a note that implied the specimen was hiding in the vents. Then we had to go into the vents.
Oh.
So yeah, in spite of my first impressions, the locale was pretty effective. And that's honestly
that's a big
how I
pile
best
of
explain
no.
Specimen 10 in general. It was the creature of many surprises. When I thought it was going to zig, it zagged. When I thought it was over, it wasn't. When I thought it was going to make a left, it opened its chest and sapped my very essence from my body. And of course, when I thought it was going to be number 1 on my list for the longest time, well, god damn it, you even got that one over on me.
Well, who's going to be 1?
Number 1.
Luigi? No, that can't be right.
Yeah, Luigi.
Who's number 1?
Dun, dun, dun.
Lucky number ass son of a bitch.
The Wall of Flesh.
What?
Well, hello there. Are you lost, little ones? Yeah, me too. Believe me when I say that I'm surprising myself with this. No joke. Specimen 7 was initially in my bottom 3. I think I just didn't really get it at first. I got so used to the cycle of recognizing all the referential shit. Oh, it's The Ring. Oh, it's Silent Hill 2. Oh, it's Legend of Zelda. And then you get to 7 and it's just like,
Hello, Kitty.
please insert your own confused onomatopoeia. Needless to say, no other specimen grew on me so much so quickly. Specimen 7 section is so bizarrely existential and different from everything else that it barely even registers as an enemy encounter. It just feels like its own weird, isolated moment. Specifically, it's a moment where you meet a cat that takes you through increasingly surreal and occasionally cosmic environments. This cat is the only living creature in the main game that doesn't ever attack you. Instead, and there's really no better way to describe it, it espouses Jungian psychology at you.
The mask you wear serves its purpose well, but be careful not to lose yourself in it.
It's the sort of thing that's easy
Excuse
to
me?
dismiss as being just
Oh.
way too pretentious. You can't assault my wrinkly brain with your large words, feline fiend. Little by little, though, the cynicism just sort of crumbled away. It really started to make sense, all the things the cat was saying about knowing my projections and being ready to see what I'd rather not be, especially once the chase itself happened. Now, obviously, the Wall of Flesh seems to be inspired by something like Gygus from Earthbound, but aside from that, what has the point of all this been? Therapy. The game just stopped doing its normal thing to give you a therapy session. Specimen 7 is described in-game as a form that can change from person to person, and is effective on those with psychological issues. It's effectively a metaphor for trauma and potentially mental illness. See? Those jokes I made about my mental health earlier in the video weren't a throwaway after all. Well, I have a tiny brain, I swear. Ow! The chase takes place in a dark red hallway. The walls flash with all sorts of weird images as the wall of flesh steadily closes in on you. What you've got to do is focus up and not get distracted by any of the imagery on the walls. It sounds easy, and it is. I can get through this no problem, and my eyes wander to the point where they're not even on my face half the time. But it's not the difficulty I love. It's the discord in the mindscape concept. The build-up to the chase encourages you to succeed for yourself and make it through, while the specimen itself leans on you making the conscious choice to dwell on it and let it take you. And in 2020 especially, the message of triumph over one's traumas and inner demons felt all the more poignant. The only disappointment I have with Specimen 7 is that it doesn't have a game over sequence. Other than that, everything here is utterly fascinating and I adore it. For as derivative as this game is in a lot of ways, this really felt like the one moment where it did its own thing and embraced its own identity to really exciting results. Akumakira, you've made something truly special. Thank you for giving me this kawaii neko-chan to acknowledge my feelings. Everyone else, stay safe. We're all in this together. Be the Jungian cat you want to see in the world.
Oh my.
So, that was Spooky's Jump Scare Mansion Specimens Ranked by Wambu. This is my very first reaction video. I hope you enjoyed it. Got any closing thoughts, Dad?
Nope.
Okay then. So, until next time, I've been the Gamer Nerd, and be the Jungian cat you've always wanted to see in the world.